Hello, I'm Sean. Welcome to The Free Life. I want to talk to you today about the voices that are in my head. So, I don't know about you, but I suspect most people are like this. Something's going on, and you struggle with, what do I do? Where do I go? And there's a lot of, you sit there at nighttime or you're lying down and you're just thinking and all these different options. What do I do with this? What do I do with that? And it seems like there's different voices in my head. That's what it seems like. And so let's talk about that a little bit. Recently I had gone through something where I did something stupid. And it affected somebody else in a way that it hurt them. And it hurt them pretty bad. And that was never my intention, but it was my fault. And even to the point where it could have affected my relationship with that person. And I love this person dearly. And the thought of losing that relationship, it tore me up. It was, talk about fear. And some of the things I discovered in this was that I had a fear of being abandoned. A fear that people would walk away from me. And it goes back to how I grew up and some of the things I experienced when I was younger, which is a different story. But it does play a role in this because the voices that we hear oftentimes know how to push buttons in our life. Things that we've had in the past that they want to make sure or that they reestablish that as being true. So we see the world like that. And so when I say that, let me say it like this. If I believe people hate me because I'm just not a person that people like. Just people don't like me. Okay, not hate, but let's say don't like me. That people just never like me. If I believe that, I'll see that in everything that happens. I'll look for that, and I'll actually act in ways that I receive that back to me. You see what I'm saying? And so how I see gives me feedback in the way I make decisions. It affects how I make decisions. So as I'm going through this, I've got these voices in my head that say they're going to leave, they're not going to want me to be around, they're not going to want a relationship with me, and I can hear this voice, right? But I also have enough relationship with God. There are moments where I'm like, God, I need you, and look at the previous blog post, because the I need you thing is really important, and I need you, and all of a sudden when I reach this I need you place again. Because I'm just in turmoil. I'm having my head, I'm living in hell. I'm experiencing hell in my head with fears and anguish and pain and what ifs and, this and what about the future? And it just goes on and on. But when I get to the place, I'm like, okay, God, I need you right now. I need you and your peace and your life and your truth, everything about you I need. All of a sudden, I start hearing a different voice. See, now, most people don't realize there are 3 places where voices speak from. There's 3 voices in your head, okay? However you want to kind of put that. But there is my voice, which, psychiatry or whatever is like, yes, it's all you. But I beg to differ, okay? So, there is me. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty convinced that the enemy knows how to speak to us. Because when he does, I feel like doo-doo. I feel anxious. I feel afraid. I feel mad. I feel anxiety. I feel like running. I feel like fighting. I've got all these feelings that come out of me that I can honestly say have nothing to do with God. So, what is that? Where does that come from? Does it come from me? I'm telling you that I don't think so. I'm telling you, I think that's the kingdom of hell. I believe that's the kingdom of hell. In fact, I even know that's the kingdom of hell. Because what happens when I agree with it, I feel it. But when I stop and I actually hear God talking to me, all of a sudden I feel peace. I feel joy. I feel life, hope. Things can be better. God's saying something different. See, God never tells me how messed up I am. God never tells me I'm bad, I'm not worth it, nobody wants me, nobody likes me, nobody wants to stay in a relationship with me, I'm mean, I'm ugly, whatever it is. That's not God talking. Because when God's talking to me, I can feel it. It feels good. It feels, the pressure's off. The weight drops off my shoulder when I agree with him. And that's the kicker. See, these two voices are actually two kingdoms. And when I say kingdoms, I'm saying two powers, two authorities, two places where there is a king of that kingdom that has power to exert himself into our lives that we give. We've been given dominion on the earth by God. You can find this in Genesis, those first few couple of chapters. It talks about this. We've been given dominion. And so God's like, I'm not going to impose myself on your will. I'm not going to make you do anything. I'm not going to make you have anything. I'm going to introduce myself and I'll give you a choice. But he doesn't impose himself. But see, the enemy is also giving me a choice. And I recognize that choice much easier because I'm used to hearing him. I've been hearing him ever since the day I was born. As soon as I was 2, first word coming out of my mouth, no, I don't want to. No, no. You see? And we know the voice of the enemy. We don't always know the voice of God very clearly. And so we empower one kingdom or the other by our agreement. So when the enemy's talking and I'm agreeing with him, I feel. When God's talking and I agree with him, I feel. And it's more than just a feeling. There's a whole other area of him being empowered to operate in and to see things happen in our lives. So, consider this. Realize that God is speaking to us in the midst of our problems, in the midst of our situations. But he's not necessarily talking about fixing them. He's talking to us about who we are, who he is, how he sees things, and he's asking us to agree with him. You see, because we don't fight against principalities and powers. We do fight against principalities and powers, spiritual wickedness in high places, and every thought that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. And I'm not talking about the knowledge about God. I'm not talking about the knowledge from God, the knowledge that is God, the truth about all situations, because when God says it, it is true by definition. And so God's talking to me a truth. God is revealing truth. God is always speaking truth. And when I hear him, it is always truth. That knowledge, the enemy's warring against. And the battle is here. The spiritual wickedness is operating to here. And if I can just cast down these imaginations, if I can put them away and say, you know what, that is not God speaking, and refuse to go there, how does that change things? See, so I don't just need to get the junk out of my life. I need to get God into my life. See, freedom isn't freedom from the things I don't like. That's really not what freedom is. Freedom is the person of Jesus Christ coming into my life. And so as I gain more of him by hearing him, I become more free from these things. See, the thing I'm really looking for is him. And as I experience more and more of him, the real you shows up. The real me is coming out because of Jesus being on the inside and healing what's wrong with my heart, healing what's wrong with the way I see, healing what's wrong with my thinking, my feelings, my decisions, everything associated with me. He is healing that. And he does it through the voices I listen to. So take this. If you're going through something, feel after him. He's not far from anyone. And in that place, you'll discover he is talking. And if you can just agree with that, if you can just bring yourself to say, that is the word. Faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God, the voice of God, the communication of God, the thing he is communicating to you. That's really where faith comes from. And with faith, you can move mountains. Well, we rephrase that. He can move mountains through you. So, you have a great